Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Tuning in to Bills Central Radio.
Time now for Bills Central Radio with ProFootballCentral.com's Chris Brown and BillsMafia.com Del Reid.
Let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo. Touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow. Let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo. Defense, rain, sleet, or snow. Let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo. Touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow. Let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo.
It's time for the Bills Central Radio Buffalo Bills Fan of the Week.
And we're here with our new segment, Buffalo Bills Fan of the Week. And I'm excited for our first participant in this, none other than Greg Torlone. Greg, first of all, is it Torlone or Torlone?
Torlone, you got it right the first time.
I got it right the first time. Greg Torlone. You may have seen his tweets on your timeline here and there. I've retweeted him a bunch of times. Maybe you've seen his YouTube channel, G Torlone, where he basically he'll give a 15, 20-minute diatribes on his thought on the Bills and everything. A lot of good information in there, a lot of good insight. Make sure you check that out. But right now, here we are with Greg, and let's jump into it. What's going on, my man?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm getting really excited for the season. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. We're doing great. I'm excited to finally talk to you. You know, we've been, following each other on Twitter for a year or two now. And just,
Twitter.
Yeah, right. So it's pretty cool to finally get to hear your voice. That's awesome. So let's just jump into it, man. I wanted to grill you with some questions, get your thoughts on some things. I mentioned your YouTube channel a moment ago. You do a great job with, expressing your thoughts and everything. And I just want to encourage you to take as much time as you want with the answers. And, just we'll let you do your thing here. So first of all, I want to know, there's a new sheriff in town, right, with Coach Marone. And there's also a new quarterback in town. Yep. And we've got the savior of the franchise now, right, EJ Manuel. What are your thoughts on the direction that the team's taken so far this year?
Are we calling him a savior already?
Let's put that in quotes.
Are we jumping to that right now? Okay. That's probably better at least for the time being. I guess I'll start with Marone, because Marone is the guy that ended up bringing in EJ Manuel. And as far as Doug Marone goes, as a fan of the team, obviously I support him. Am I sure that he was the right choice? No, and I won't be until I see the team on the field. And I don't think I'll be able to make that judgment probably for at least one full season. My thing with Marone is that he just better be the right guy. If you're Buddy Nix, and I know, Buddy Nix just stepped down, but Buddy Nix, Doug Whaley, even Ralph Wilson, Russ Brandon, that core group of guys, they went through this entire, rigorous process of interviewing coaches, old coaches, new coaches, up-and-coming guys, old veterans, like Ken Wisenhunt, who we all thought might get the job for a while, and then Doug Marone comes out of nowhere and snags it. So my opinion on Doug Marone is that he had better be the right guy, because like I said, you went through this process, you interviewed a multitude of candidates, and this is the guy you came up with. So as a fan, I expect this to be the guy, because you said you were going to leave no stone unturned in your coaching process. This is your answer, and this better be the right guy. I don't think there's any excuse for it not to be. And going forward, I am pretty pleased with what I've heard in the first 4 or 5 months that he's been the coach of the Bills. I think he's brought a new attitude to the team, a new attitude to the franchise, a new attitude to the fan base. He seems like he's got this new culture. We've seen the pictures of him putting the Vince Lombardi Trophy in the field house, and it's just encouraging. It gives us the impression that he wants to win. He takes his job very seriously. Same thing with bringing in Nathaniel Hackett, bringing in Mike Patton to be his coordinators. They give off the same aura, so to say. So that's, it's exciting. It's a different feeling. When we hired Chan Gailey to be the head coach, it was sort of obviously he's a retread. So it was sort of a retread feeling. And he said all the right things and did all the right things, but at the end of the day, He was a retread coach. It didn't work out in Dallas, didn't work out with Miami, Kansas City, left Georgia Tech for a reason, and we saw the same result. So Doug Marrone had a little bit of success at Syracuse with, average talent, I'll say. Syracuse hasn't been the most reputable football program over the past, 10 years or so. But he did more with less, so I'll give him credit for that. As far as E.J. Manuel goes, it's almost sort of the same thing. Marrone and Hackett went through a group of guys featuring, Matt Barkley and their very own Ryan Nassib and E.J. Manuel and Geno Smith. And this is the guy they came up with. And I'm behind it 100%. It's a new feeling for Bills fans. And that's what I'm most excited about, is we've never used our first pick on a quarterback. Jim Kelly was the second pick of the first round. J.P. Lawson was also a second pick of the first round. So the fact that E.J. Manuel is here, it's exciting. Coming off last season, I think a lot of fans were down. They expected sort of this big breakthrough last season with Fitzpatrick and Mario Williams and Chan Gailey in his third season, and obviously it was a huge disappointment. But now they really do. They find a way to get us excited every single season, and they've done it again this year with E.J. Manuel. I'm excited. I'm sure you guys are excited too.
Yeah, without a doubt. They do always find a way to bring us back in, don't they? But, okay, so we talked about E.J. Manuel. As you're aware, they brought in, 19, 20 other guys between the draft and the undrafted signings and everything. And we'll even throw free agency in here with, Alan Branch and Manny Lawson, Kevin Cobb, So what are your thoughts on, the draft and basically the off season overall? What are your what do you think they did well on, and what do you think they could do a better job on, maybe if they had a chance to do it over again?
I think the first thing that surprised me was most people expected more of the Jets cast-off to come over to the Bills with Pettin, like Calvin Pace, LaRon Landry, Mike DeVito, and guys like that. We really didn't see that. You got Marcus Dowden, who came over, who was a young special teamer with the Jets, but we don't know what his role is going to be. That was the first thing that I was sort of surprised by, was that the Bills really didn't make a whole lot of noise early on in free agency, and that was sort of the first impression that Doug Marrone gave off was, oh my God, we're doing nothing in free agency, and we have all these holes on this team. And, I guess it shined kind of a negative light on him, but at the same time, he had a plan all along. It was to, get younger, fill in guys with, veteran experience like Manny Lawson, like Jerry Hughes after they traded Kelvin Shepard, and, filling in the rest through the draft. It's no secret that great teams tend to build through the draft. We've seen it especially with the Green Bay Packers, most recently. And they've filled all the holes that I would have liked to see them fill, especially recently with adding Doug Legursky. I was a little concerned about the left guard because Colin Brown has incredibly little experience there, and there seemed to be a pretty big hole. I wasn't sure if they were going to go with Chris Hairston there and maybe with Eric Pierce at right tackle. But now they bring in Legursky to bring in some competition at left guard. And, and Marrone being the former offensive lineman himself, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. At least I hope he knows what he's doing on the offensive line as far as that goes. They brought in more offensive weapons. They seem to be building their offense around speed, which speed is sort of taking over the NFL lately. They have C.J. Spiller. They have T.J. Graham, Marquise Goodwin now, Robert Woods. So I'm excited about the speed, even at quarterback with E.J. Manuel. E.J. Manuel can run if need be. So I like the way that they've built speed on offense. Everyone seems to like Derek Rogers as well, so I'm kind of excited about him to see what he brings as far as training camp comes along. Defensively, I think they're just getting a little bit more angry, a little bit more brutal. They bring in guys like Kiko Alonso, like Duke Williams, guys who aren't afraid to make, guys who, sort of search for contact. And I think that will bring a completely different attitude to the defense that we haven't seen in quite a long time. The Bills defense, I actually say the same thing about the offense. They really haven't finished top 10 in, probably 10 years. So overall, I think the team itself is built around Doug Marone's new attitude, new culture of winning. They got veteran players like Steve Johnson, veteran leaders, I should say, like Steve Johnson, like Fred Jackson, like Kyle Williams, and now even Mario Williams, who's only been there a year but is already becoming a voice on that defense. It's a reason for optimism. And like I just alluded to, they find a reason to get us excited every year, and they've done it again.
Greg, Chris Brown here. Thanks for joining us today on the radio show. Appreciate you taking the time out today.
I appreciate you guys bringing me in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
You had alluded to the defense getting a little bit nasty, and, I just wanted to reiterate, that's something, like you had said, that Bills fans haven't seen in a while, and after being lulled to sleep, so to speak, last season with Dave Wanstead's soft vanilla defense, I think we all as fans want to see some new defensive schemes coming out and some hard-hitting blitzes and just different looks to switch it up, and, I think that'll be great. You had talked about previous coaching staffs and Chan Gailey and everything. There's a quarterback that's not on the Bills roster anymore that Chan and the front office had brought in with Tavares Jackson. Now that he's gone, and it's basically a two-horse race, even though there's three quarterbacks on the current roster. What are your thoughts on the upcoming quarterback competition leading into training camp now that mini camp has concluded earlier today, with Kevin Cobb and E.J. Manuel starting to split reps a little bit more? And who do you think is going to pull out toward the end and start for the Bills in the season?
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. But I think that's probably a better answer, because with the old adage is that competition makes teams better. And I think the quarterback competition will push one of those guys to the forefront, whether it's E.J. Manuel or Kevin Cobb. Obviously, remains to be seen. And it won't be seen until training camp, because I think both of them are going to get time with the ones, and both of them are going to get time with the twos. So it's basically going to boil down to who grasps the offense better, who do the receivers and the offensive line, the running backs feel more comfortable with. And I've never really disliked Kevin Kolb. I feel like he kind of got a bad rap, especially in Philadelphia, well, obviously in Philadelphia and Arizona, because of, obviously, underperformance. But at least in Arizona, the last year, that offensive line was brutal. I actually went to the Arizona game where Kolb started the game and looked like he was going to lead the Cardinals back to victory against the Bills until he went down with an injury, because, the offensive line was just terrible. That was sort of Mario Williams' first coming out party with the Bills, at least, where he posted 2 sacks. But, they were in the backfield all day long, pressuring Kolb. He scrambled out of there a couple times for some good yardage. But, I saw firsthand just how bad that offensive line was. So he really hasn't had a lot of protection, a lot of time to make throws, and I think he is capable of making throws, all the throws that you want from a quarterback. So I wouldn't hate it if Kevin Kolb started the season. This is such a win-now league, and obviously you want to put the guy who is going to win you the most games at the quarterback position. I'm not sure if E.J. Manuel's ready. I can't be sure until probably when I see him in preseason. But like I said, Kevin Kolb is serviceable. I don't want to compare him to Ryan Fitzpatrick, because I actually think he's better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he has a better deep ball. I think he's more accurate, throws better to the sidelines. So, like I said, I wouldn't hate it if Kevin Kolb came out of camp as the starter. I want E.J. Manuel to play. Don't get me wrong. I want to see E.J. Manuel on the field. I don't know if I can wait another 15 months to see E.J. Manuel on the field, but at the same time, I wouldn't hate it, because you've seen guys sit and have success, like Eli Manning sat for a little bit behind Kurt Warner, eventually came in. He's won 2 Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers, a pretty good quarterback with the San Diego Chargers. He's sat behind Drew Brees for a while. And then look at Aaron Rodgers. Sat behind Brett Favre for a number of seasons. And he is an NFL MVP, Super Bowl MVP. So I don't know if E.J. Manuel has that type of potential. I think he has great potential. I think that his shortcomings are sort of overstated. They question whether, or some people question whether he can throw the ball downfield. But from what I've read, that this Bills offense will be a West Coast style of offense, and that's where most of Manuel's shows came at Florida State. They were 10 yards downfield and less, maybe in that intermediate range. And I think as long as he can make those throws, the Bills will be all right moving forward.
Yeah, Greg, I could not agree with you more. Like, we joke around about calling him the savior of the franchise, and maybe he will end up being that. But it doesn't have to begin in week one. I wanted this kid. I wanted the Bills to draft this kid, but at the same time, it wasn't with the understanding that he would be there week one. If the coaches, they see him as that guy, awesome. But if not, let's not ruin it. Let's let him, like you mentioned with Eli and Rivers and a couple other guys, Aaron Rodgers. Like, they didn't start week one, and they've done okay career-wise. They've done their franchises that drafted them okay. So no complaints there if he's not the guy. But anyway, so I'm not here to talk. I'm here to ask you questions. So you've got a YouTube channel, which we mentioned at the outset, youtube.com/gtorlone. And most of the stuff you do there is typical vlogs, right? VLOG, just talking about the Bills and stuff. But it's not all just you talking. You've got a song up there that got over 17,000 hits late last year when the whole free CJ thing was going crazy.
Right.
So I would encourage the listeners, if you haven't heard Chan Gailey Style, look it up. It's pretty funny. It's on Greg's channel, obviously. Not quite as funny maybe as it was in November, December when it was like a good release for us just to laugh at the whole situation. But check it out. Good stuff. Yeah, and
please excuse my inexplicably horrible singing voice. I'm not trying out for the voice or anything.
You did a good job, though. You did a good job of couching that with the disclaimers and everything when you put it out there. So it was a great proof of concept. You did a good job, man. But so, anyways, talking about CJ, and even Fred and everything. What do you think about that run game this year, from what you heard out of Hackett and everything, and what direction you see them going and really exploring the run game this year?
Well, I think that running the football is the best way to success in the NFL. I know that everyone says it's a passing league. You got to have a quarterback, and you see quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. These guys are throwing the ball all over the place. They've won Super Bowls. So certainly that argument can be made. However, I think that you have to have a good quarterback. I'm not going to downplay that, or the importance of a good quarterback. But if you have a running back like a C.J. Spiller, I think that significantly improves your chances of winning games, because you can control the ball, you can control the clock. When you run football successfully, we've seen it, because C.J. did it well at a bunch of times last year. Bills didn't win all those games, but he put them in a good position with a lot of plays. I guess I shouldn't say a lot of plays, because it seemed like he didn't touch the ball enough. We all know that. But, I mean, this is a guy who averaged 6 yards a carry last season, averages 5.5 yards a carry for his career. So he's going to touch the ball. Just pray to God that he doesn't get hurt, because he's going to touch the ball, and hopefully a bunch every game. He should touch the ball at least 20 times every game, no less. I don't know if he's the type of running back who can handle like 30 carries a game. I don't think I even want him to do that, because I'd like to sort of preserve him for the future. But at the same time, I don't want to hear any excuses like Gailey made last year where, CJ's tired or it's not his turn. And I don't think you're going to get any of that with Doug Marrone. I think he understands what he has in C.J. Spiller, and that's an outstanding, possibly elite running back in the NFL. And, to compliment him, there's Fred Jackson, who, let's not forget about Fred Jackson. Fred Jackson has had a wealth of success for the Bills over a number of years. And I think them as a 1-2 punch are, they could possibly be the best running back tandem in the NFL if used effectively. They could have been used effectively last season. They were not, unfortunately, but C.J. Spiller still picked up 1,244 yards on just over 200 carries. So moving forward, that's obviously something they're going to look to build on. Hackett running this, like I said, this West Coast style of offense. He's going to employ short passes and a heavy doses of running the football. Hopefully some screen passes to get CJ the ball in the screen game. Fred Jackson runs screen games very well. Fred Jackson's a great blocker as well. I mean, I feel like I'm sitting here and I'm just telling you about how great they are, and you can't think of any reason to say why they might be a possibly bad team or, you know, anything like that. And you read these blogs and these reports and watch these videos of how the Bills are doing in mini camp, and you think, wow, they just hit you with optimism. And I feel like that's sort of what I'm doing right now. I mean, the Bills have their holes, don't get me wrong, but they certainly have a dynamic duo at running back. I call them the fast and the furious. CJ the fast, Fred Jackson the furious. I'd like to just make it known that I came up with that. And if you hear it anywhere else, just know that I started that.
The fast and the furious. We'll definitely have to remember that once the season approaches. And, you know, of course, I like to think personally, you know, I think we have one of the best running back duos in the NFL. And if Freddie didn't get hurt the year he was on track to possibly be the MVP of the league, and then to throw Spiller in there, who's emerged as, you know, with the injuries to Freddie now getting late, you know, I could possibly even say that they are the best duo without a doubt. What do you think, Greg?
I certainly can't say that they're not, because like I said, Spiller just ran for 1,200 yards on 200 carries, and Fred Jackson, he's a 1,000-yard back. So the potential is there, but they haven't done it yet. So they could be the best running back tandem in the league. Like I said, right now I would agree that they're easily up top. I can't even off the top of my head come up with anybody that would be better than them. I mean, LaShawn McCoy and Bryce Brown. Bryce Brown had some good, or picked up some good yardage last year for the Eagles, but the Eagles have a bunch of holes themselves. But yeah, like you said, I'm incredibly optimistic about the Bills' running game. They have one of the fastest, one of the most dynamic home run threats in C.J. Spiller, and one of the best all-around running backs in Fred Jackson. It just seems like a great combination.
Now switching a little bit, we'll head to the defensive side of the ball. There's a gentleman out there who has yet to be at any Bills off-season activities. Jarrett Byrd, pay the man, as I like to say. What are your thoughts on Jarrett Byrd's situation going on? You know, there's a little bit of a stalemate. A lot of people think it might be, you know, the agent, Eugene Parker, holding up the situation and him having a hold against the Bills. But what are your thoughts on Byrd, and, you know, should they pay him the top dollar that he's asking, you know, based statistically wise? You know, he's top 3 in the league. And, of course, he wants to get paid that top 3 in the league's salary. But, of course, the Bills are going to play hardball. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've liked Jarrett Byrd ever since he came out of college. So I'm all for re-signing him. I want to see him with the Bills long term. I think that if you're building through the draft, you have to retain. You know, you draft, you develop, and then you retain. That's like that's the process, the standard procedure for building, you know, your franchise. And Jarrett Byrd is a huge member of that. He's certainly an above average player. I think anybody would agree with that. You might have a difference here or there in what he can do as far as a run stopper, but I think he's a terrific run stopper. I think he is the best cover safety in the league. I can't think of a play where I saw him chasing a receiver. I can't think of one where I saw him chasing somebody down the field, with a pass coming over his head and seeing him behind somebody. He's just a ball hawk. He constantly makes plays on the ball. He intimidates quarterbacks. I think he intimidates receivers just with his ability to make plays on the ball and, you know, just overall. So I think that he is an extremely valuable and inexpendable member of your defense if you're the Buffalo Bills. I think, what's holding up is Eric Weddle probably ruined. And, Eric Weddle's a terrific player in his own right, but he's probably ruined safety contracts for everybody else. And he's kind of screwing the Bills right now. Because Eric Weddle pulled in, I believe, 5 years, $40 million, which is unheard of, really. And Jairus Byrd is better than Eric Weddle. Eric Weddle, like I said, good player in his own right. Jairus Byrd is better than him. So obviously Jairus Byrd wants more money than him, and obviously Eugene Parker, Bird's agent, wants more money than Eric Weddle as well. I've heard the Bills have offered 7. I've heard Parker's coming back with 9. I just hope they can meet in the middle somewhere. I'm praying, really, that they can meet in the middle somewhere because, like I said, Byrd is inexpendable to the Bills. And at the same time, you see Aaron Williams sort of taking his place in the mini camps and OTAs with Cersei at strong safety, Williams, I said, at free safety. And that is cause for concern, I think. It looks like Aaron Williams, obviously only in his 3rd season, it looks like they could be possibly thinking about what life might be like without Jairus Byrd. And honestly, that worries me.
Oh, yeah. And,
totally.
he's having a great, mini camp, Aaron is. But, July 15th is going to be the day that it's Judgment Day, so to speak. It's you either have a contract for him or he has to sign his tender, or he can choose not to play too. But yeah,
I don't think Jairus Byrd is that kind of person. Do you?
Right.
I don't think he's going to get out.
Absolutely not. No, and he's definitely going to wait till the last possible second before signing that tender. And frankly, usually you only have one shot at a legit big contract in the NFL career, maybe 2 if you're lucky. And rarely do you ever, work out that entire contract. Rarely do you ever play out that 6-year, 5-year deal within.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Jairus Byrd you got to sign the guy. You have to. I mean, and there's a thousand plays, not thousand, but there are a lot of plays that come to mind where he just showed his incredible skills. Thinking of just like that interception against Miami on that Thursday night game just this past year, and like so many clutch plays the guys made. But okay,
Arizona,
right? Yeah, Arizona sealed the win there, right? So yeah. So last question here, Greg, and this is something we've been asking everybody. In terms of their opinion on the Bills and everything. I'm just interested to get the gauge from people, and it's kind of an awkward question because of the team that they would be supplanting to do this, but there's been a trend over the past however many years that seems like every year there's at least one division that has a team go from worst to first. You think it could be the Bills this year? And, regardless, what's your prediction for them overall?
Well, I don't think it'll be the Bills as long as Tom Brady's around. Let's face it, New England, no matter who they lose Welker, Brandon Lloyd. Gronkowski might not even play, but it seems like New England's the cream of the crop every year, regardless, as long as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are there. They've had one losing season, one under 500 season since 1996. That's 17 seasons they've had one losing season. The Bills, conversely, have had 11. So that's just one way of looking at it. I don't mean anybody to go jumping off any cliffs there. I just think that as long as Tom Brady's around, that's it. I know that they've lost the division to the Dolphins before. It's the Patriots. I think they're winning the AFC East. Maybe the Bills have a shot at splitting with them again this year, but the Patriots are probably going to win at least 4 games in the division and win the AFC East. They have 12 consecutive, I believe, 10-win seasons, something ridiculous like that. But I don't see why the Bills can't compete. Like I said, I think they could split with the Patriots. I think the Dolphins are going to be better this year as well, but I'm not entirely sold on them because they bought a team pretty much through free agency, like Mike Wallace, who's Philip Wheeler and Janelle Ellerbe. So, and they still have questions I believe at running back. I like Lamar Miller there, but it all is going to, pretty much lie on Tannehill and how he adjusts to having the receivers second year in the system, second year in the league. I think they can compete as well. I think the Jets, most people would agree, are in shambles on the cusp of firing their coach, a terrible quarterback with Mark Sanchez, an unproven quarterback with Geno Smith. So I think the Bills can compete. They should sweep the Jets. I'm not ready to say that they will because for some reason the Jets always play the Bills pretty well. Mark Sanchez seems to play the Bills pretty well, with the exception of his 5-interception game a bunch of years back and then week 17 of last season. I mean, the Jets have just killed the Bills a couple times over the past couple of years, but we'll see how that pans out. I think the Bills' schedule is difficult. You see Atlanta on it, you see Baltimore, you see Pittsburgh, and you get intimidated. But, Baltimore's a little bit down. They lost a ton, but they still have a Super Bowl quarterback in Joe Flacco. They still have a great running back in Ray Rice. And I don't think their defense has fallen off that much, despite losing Ed Reid and Ray Lewis. And other beats, I should say. Again, and that's only one game, but those are the teams you're competing with for playoff spots in the AFC. So, I'm talking playoffs because why not? We haven't been there in 13 years. Why not? I know it's a losing tradition as of late, but I don't see why, like you said, teams go from worst to first all the time. The Bills could be one of them. Like I said, not in the division, but I think they could be in the hunt late in the season for a playoff spot. I think they ultimately might finish somewhere between the 7-9 and 9-7 range. I think that's realistic for them. I don't see any reason why they can't win that many games. They have a lot of guys coming back, a lot of new guys coming in, a lot of fresh faces. And it's, like I said, you're always optimistic in June. It's easy to be optimistic in June. Training camps haven't happened yet. Injuries haven't happened yet. Competitions haven't played out, especially at quarterback, which is the most important position on the field. Jared Bird's not here yet. There's a ton of X factors. But if Bird gets in, if the right quarterback is picked, if they avoid injuries, which they haven't lately, there's no reason why they can't compete in the AFC. I think that the opportunity is there for them to, especially over the next couple of years, but even this year, to be competitive, to instill some sort of fear in opponents. Because I feel like the last 10 years, if you're a fan of any other team for the last 10, 12 years, and you see the Bills on your schedule, you're not thinking, oh, man, that sucks. We got to play the Bills. I don't think anyone has ever said that since, at least in this decade. So I think that they can finally start changing that this year, or at least start to change that this year. And moving forward, hopefully they start building this, this Doug Marrone era, this E.J. Manuel era. And, hopefully it's a sign of good things to come because, let's face it, guys, it's been 13 years. I was 11 years old the last time the Bills made the playoffs. And, I'm going to be 25 in a couple weeks. And that is, to me, just kind of sad to think about.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I agree with you, especially with the Tom Brady bit. As much vitriol and hatred I pour on Twitter towards the guy, like the dude plays football. The dude's fantastic. And like you said, how Miami did win the division in 2008, that helped when Brady got injured for the year in Week 1, right?
Right.
It kind of played a part. But regardless, if they go 1-15 or 15-1, at least as of June right now, I think they're headed in the right direction. We'll see what happens. But anyways, Greg, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. It's been cool. I've been looking forward to it since we started talking about it last week. You know your stuff. You got a lot of good opinions. Great stuff. Now, if you want to tell our listeners where they can find you, go ahead, plug whatever you want.
Well, I'm on Twitter and YouTube at @GTorlone, and that's GTORLONE for both Twitter and YouTube. And I haven't posted a lot of videos on YouTube lately, mostly because it's the off season, but training camp's coming up in a couple weeks, and there should be some videos coming up there. Twitter, I post about everything from football and hockey to baseball, basketball recently with the NBA Finals, and even wrestling sometimes. So if you want, a wealth of opinions or a lot of variety, you can find me there. But like I said, I want to thank you guys for having me on this show. It was an honor, and I thank you for reaching out to me with such kindness.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. It's great to have you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this and everything, and I'm looking forward to going back and forth with you on Twitter this coming season. And again, give a follow, G Torlone on Twitter. He doesn't have anywhere near the number of followers I think he deserves in terms of like the great opinions he has and everything. So look him up if you're a Bills fan. So for Chris Brown, I'm Del Reid, and we want to thank Greg again for coming on the show on Bills Central Radio, and catch you later.
Thanks for tuning in to Bills Central Radio. For Bills news, updates, stats, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.
Shout, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, defense, rain, sleet, or snow, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo. Defense, rain, sleet, or snow. Okay, new vibe, new feel, new coach, new Bills. Red, white, blue steel. Hard work, true skill. This year's on you, Spill. LDM, I'm predicting that. Touchdown, Stevie Johnson, swag cooking.